The mistress we court is liberty, and it is better to die than not to obtain her. Joseph Warren to Samuel Adams, June 15, 1774. The fateful day had come. On the morning of June 17, 1775, just days after his 34th birthday and appointment to the rank of Major General, Dr. Joseph Warren, away from his family and closest political allies, lay motionless inside Hastings House in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Suffering from one of the debilitating headaches that had plagued him for years, he listened as the steady fire of cannonade rumbled in Charlestown, a few miles away. It had not rained for weeks, and the sun was already scorching. Following one of the mildest New England winters on record, events in and around Boston had reached a boiling point. The stage was set for a grim conflict that would culminate in a scene of devastation. Weeks earlier, the doctor had presciently written, "No business but that of war is either done or thought of in this colony." More than 300 miles away in Philadelphia, a group of patriot delegates from Massachusetts, including the cousins Samuel and John Adams, and the wealthy merchant John Hancock, were attending the Second Continental Congress, which had been in session since May 10th. Unsanctioned by the king, this nascent extra-legal governing body anxiously awaited news from Warren's dispatchers about the explosive situation in the Bay Colony, where the Whig movement had been resisting Crown policies for over 10 years. When Warren sent his trusted messengers, including his close friend and patriot associate Paul Revere, to the Congress with information, it was shared and discussed by scores of men with opinions and beliefs as diverse as the colonies from which they hailed. But by the time a response reached the doctor, many days, often weeks, would elapse. Because time was of the essence, Warren had to take decisive action at his discretion. At the peak of his power, he was effectively alone in directing the events unfolding in the Bay Colony. At this moment, Warren was unquestionably the de facto patriot leader in the epicenter of the American Rebellion. The United States did not exist in 1775. The colonists were still British subjects under Crown rule, more than a year away from the day John Hancock would boldly write his prominent signature atop the famous document penned by Thomas Jefferson. At that point, George Washington, an inactive colonel of the Virginia Regiment since 1758, had yet to achieve his everlasting glory. Common Sense, Thomas Paine's seminal political pamphlet, had yet to be published. Weeks earlier, on May 5th, the internationally famed statesman Benjamin Franklin had returned to the colonies after living in Britain for over a decade. Warren, meanwhile, was one of the most prominent physicians in Massachusetts, a refined and educated gentleman revolutionary, blessed with a charismatic personality, good looks, and a keen political acumen. Described as elegant in his personal appearance and devoted as much to classical studies as professional learning, he was an admired and trusted patriot insider making influential political decisions. And given his deep Yankee lineage, which dated back to the mid-17th century, the doctor had numerous social and familial relationships connecting him to politically diverse groups throughout a Bay Colony that ruptured into bitterly opposed factions. Paradoxically, for a time, he seemed almost destined to take a leading role on the side of government loyal to the king, given his intimate ties to the most powerful Tory families in Massachusetts. In fact, his medical practice had flourished because of Tory patronage. But he had chosen the path of most resistance, becoming a tireless patriot fighting in what he referred to as the present struggle for the liberties of America. As tensions mounted between the king's troops and the Bay Colony populace, strong resentments fueled incidents that directly involved the omnipresent doctor. In fact, Warren's central role in the Boston Massacre, the Boston Tea Party, the battles of Lexington and Concord, and the Battle of Bunker Hill led one of His Majesty's commanders stationed in the colonies to refer to him as the famous Dr. Warren, the greatest incendiary in all America,